Hello there.
Hello there.
Interesting seeing you here. Welcome back to Screen Films, where we analyze movies and talk about them and see how good they are. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going back to the first video that I ever did and talking about a genre. Don't worry, I'm not going to be dissing a genre this time. I'm going to be praising one because we'll be looking at a subgenre that's from the action genre. Obviously, if you couldn't tell by the title, today we are looking at the revenge genre of action films and why they're good. That's pretty much it. First of all, before we get into the video, don't forget this is my personal opinion why I think something is good or bad. Don't just keep it as a one straightforward opinion. It is my own opinion. If you like it, cool, great. But just letting you know, it is my own opinion. So before we talk about why it's good, let's talk about how it started. So old school revenge films were a little bit different than what they are now, mostly because of the theme that they showed. It's way different than before. Originally, they were Keith revenge films. I can't say the R word because I'd get in trouble. So it's Keith. Stereotypically speaking, totally not mentioning a movie or anything. So what happens is a girl or whoever gets they get taken by people, they get Keith either drugged, killed, some of them all three, and then eventually the parents find out, and then you guessed it, they get revenge on the killers or bad guys. A movie that easily does this, because it's literally what it is The Last House on the Left, Wes Craven's messed up film? Directed by Wes Craven, obviously, because he's that good of a horror movie director. A modern-ish approach to this is the Taken series with Liam Neeson, where a dude who was a Jedi trained Batman and was frickin' Zeus. His daughter goes to Paris, gets kidnapped, and then he does his infamous "I will find you" kind of bit. That was my terrible attempt at a Northern Irish accent. Deal with it. That's the old school version of revenge movies. Now, obviously, Hollywood has changed it a little bit to where the person who is wronged gets, if you couldn't guess already, revenge.
What?
I know. Calm down. Calm down. I know this is whole new, totally, yeah, everything. Yeah, you understand. Please let it sink in. Alright, now we can go. So, now that I've gone quickly through what revenge movies most were, since it's, in a nutshell, I'll say it again. Daughter, son, whatever, is kidnapped, Keith, or killed, parents find out, parents get revenge. That's easily it. Or, it doesn't have to be parents, it can also be a loved one, whatever in that region of relationship. It still works the same way. So, now we can finally talk about why you're here. Why I think revenge movies are good. We're gonna start off simple now, and we'll just talk about plot. The easiest way to put plot in revenge films is that it doesn't confuse you most of the time. It's pretty straightforward. I'm looking at you, Tenny, stupid piece of shit. Just kidding for the most part. Total joke. Please don't take it serious. Tenet's a pretty decent, good film. It is, though, confusing though. Anyways, let's get back on track. So, revenge movies overall are pretty straightforward. Person is wronged, person kills goons of bad guy, person kills bad guy, and that's pretty much it. Now, in some revenge movies, it does have a small subplot on the side. It's just to make the world seem bigger. I would say the best ones that I've seen recently is the John Wick series, mostly because it brings in cool characters who can also do what John Wick does and makes the action more expansive. Just letting you know in this video, I'm going to be talking about John Wick a lot. Totally not like I'm going to get a video about the John Wick series eventually in the future. We'll see whenever I feel like doing it. It'll be a long video. With the story in revenge films, it doesn't need to be complex because the point of the story is to carry on the action that happens throughout the film. That's the easiest way to explain plot in some revenge movies. It either is important, like super duper important, or it's more of a side thing that happens where most people don't really care about it, but they're mostly there to watch the movie for the action that happens through. Another way to say is that the violence carries the story anyways, so you're getting both at the same time, but the action takes over the movie than the plot. As well with the story, you're seeing the hero who is wronged get back at the person who wronged them, and then having them end in an either satisfying or brutal way that makes everyone happy at the end. The audience, that is, not the characters. You know, a lot of people like their happy endings. Some of them are good, but then some of them are, every so often you'll get a sad/bad ending with it. Or you'll get a movie that just ends on a cliffhanger and has to make you wait like a year or two for the next movie to come out. An example of the cliffhanger ending is the John Wick series. It always ends with something ending and you're like, there's more to be done. There's more bloodshed that can be shed by Jonathan Wick. A happy messed up/sad ending example is Park Chan-wook's Oldboy, released in 2003. The good one and not the 2013 version starring Josh Brolin. was not a good movie. So spoilers ahead real quick for Oldboy. That will also have its own video in the future, but real quick, I'm gonna spoil the ending. The ending of Oldboy has the main character, Daisu Oh, fall in love with his daughter, but it's still creepy. Hear me out. It is still creepy, but he technically has not a right. There's no way good to say this. He hasn't seen his daughter in 15 years because he was in a prison for those 15 years, not seeing a single human being. So obviously he forgot about her, and I'm pretty sure she forgot about him. So it technically, I don't want to say it, but it technically balances it all out. I'm getting Alabama vibes here, I'm sorry. But he gets his memory wiped of Midu, of being his daughter, so he can live that happy life that he wants with her. So technically, for the regular audience, it's weird, but somewhat acceptable, because you see him being happy. For the Alabama people of you Florida tryhards, obviously it's not okay. Let me put it at that. It's technically not okay, but I'm gonna go a little Alabama here to say it again. It is okay, because you follow him. It was a twist that happened. It's okay. Please don't hate me. Now, every so often you are gonna get that sad-ish ending of a revenge film. It's just how it happens with the story. But obviously some people would say that Oldboy's ending is sad. Again, I don't think it's sad. It's messed up, but it's not sad. I would say a somewhat sad ending, depending on who you talk to, is The Revenant. The Revenant at the end has Hugh Glass killing Tom Hardy. He's just left in the environment of the winter, bleeding out. So I guess in some ways you could say that is sad because he's gonna die. But you can also think about it that, yeah, he got back at Tom Hardy for killing his son. He's okay to die now because this dude has been attacked by a bear, been in freezing water. He's gotten beat up throughout the film. So you are sad that he might die, but you're also relieved that he finally was able to do what he needed to do and then he can finally die. So overall in revenge films, the story isn't that deep, but it can be. And then they are usually pretty straightforward with stereotypical happy endings of somewhat superhero movies, of how heroes beat bad guy, everyone lives happily ever after, and that's it. Since revenge genre is part of the action genre, it makes sense that it's pretty straightforward anyways. But one of the reasons why, again, as I'm going to say it again, one of the reasons that the story is kind of simple is so the action part of the movies can take over and everyone can talk about them. So, let's talk about action. Obviously, if you don't know me, one of the things that I really love about revenge films is the action and the violence that it shows. Why? Mostly because I am a martial artist. As a martial artist, I enjoy seeing the hand-to-hand combat range of things. I love seeing just people getting brutally attacked because it's enjoying and it's also weirdly sensational to me. I'm not saying anything, but I don't know, seeing some people get attacked in movies, it's fun. But it's also, as well as the stunt side of it, I really like talking about stunts. I say talking. I like seeing how stunts are done, and I like that background of how that is made. So I have that side of, that's cool that they did that with the stuntmen, and eventually, maybe I can be a stuntman? We'll have to see. Anyways, with the violence that is being shown, there is a point to it. With some revenge movies, it's to show the capabilities of the main character and why they are a threat to the main villain. With John Wick, the first one, when he's breaking the concrete, you see Viggo tell his son about John and what he's done for him in the Russian Mafia of New York. Viggo knows what John is capable of and is kind of afraid of what is to come. Immediately after this, we hop into the house fight scene and get a sample of what John can do. The John Wick series feels tactical and down to earth, which is why a lot of people like it. It's not just people flying in the air, doing cool, crazy things in the air, shooting at people. Obviously, it feels more earth because mostly it's John Wick taking down guys and then shooting them while they're on the ground. But it feels more down to earth than other action films at the end of the day. Now, you can say that it's just useless violence and there is no point to it, which you're wrong. But the audience is being shown that John is an absolute threat and he won't stop until he's finished with his mission, which is pretty badass. Now that I've got John Wick out of my system, for now, we're going to talk about another film. A cult classic film in the revenge genre is Tarantino's Kill Bill Volume 1, which was also released in 2003 with Oldboy. For those that have never seen a Tarantino film, almost all of them are really violent. It's just how it goes, it's how his mind works. There's going to be at least one or more action scenes in the movie, and there's going to be a lot of blood. That's just how he works. I'll quickly go through Kill Bill, so we're not here all day. Kill Bill is about an ex-assassin who gets put into a coma and almost dies at her own wedding. She wakes up and goes on a killing spree to get to Bill, the leader of the Deadly Vipers. His name is in the movie, so it makes sense. The best action scene in Volume 1 is at the end of the movie with the showdown at the House of Blue Leaves. This fight scene is more of a thank you than it is showing something new. It's a thank you to the old Japanese movies in that style of sword fighting, and then also the old school kung fu movies that were shown around when Tarantino was a child. If you need a quick example of those things, here you are. With the insane amounts of blood that Tarantino uses in this film, it's more of an homage to Akira Kurosawa with the reference to Sanjuro. With a quick fun fact, the insane blood splatter that happens in that duel was an accident, but they kept it because it was, I think from my end, from what I know, it looked really cool, and it also was kind of a waste of blood anyways, so they kept it in. It's probably not true, but you're not here for facts, I don't think. The other part of the excessive blood is just what Tarantino does. The violence in this movie is kind of goofy, but it's over the top on purpose and is enjoyable to watch. The movie establishes violence as the story's underlying ethos, which if you remember in the plot section, the violence carries the story and makes it more enjoyable to watch. The violence also shows what the bride is capable of doing, which is she's able to single-handedly wipe out 40 plus people by herself with barely getting injured in the process, which for most people is really cool to watch. Now that we've talked about Kill Bill and John Wick and how they portray the action, which is kind of more on the goofier slash tactical side of things, I'm going to talk about a movie that kind of makes the violence get more respect. And that movie is Revenge, which was released in 2017. Since the cast is small in this film, the importance of the violence extends more than kind of what John Wick and Kill Bill does. In the movie, for those that haven't seen the movie is about a girl named Jen/Jennifer, whichever way you want to put it, it works either way, who goes on vacation with her so-called boyfriend. The dude's friends are also here with the lovebirds, and eventually things get a little bit out of hand, and the three amigos in the movie attempt to kill Jen. After Jen is pronounced dead by the three amigos, they're not that smart, she comes back and gets, you guessed it, revenge. In this movie, you're seeing a woman who almost dies and is a different character at the beginning of the movie, switch to someone who wants to kill the guys who did inappropriate things to her and almost killed her. By seeing what is done to her in the beginning, you feel for her, and you want to get that sensation of her getting back at the guys who wronged her and basically tried to kill her. You know, you want to see that antagonist die in a brutal way to balance out what happened to her. You know she's dealing with the injustices of the three amigos with the same amount of violence reflected onto her go back to them, which again makes it very satisfying to watch. Speaking about injustices, there's a feeling in revenge films that makes a lot of people, including me, feel gratitude at the end of the movie. Mostly because that feeling is dealing with the injustices that people are doing and creating havoc in the story. And it's up to the main character to single-handedly deal with it and then end it. Now, with superhero films, the villain rarely dies and goes to prison or whatever. It's standard in superhero films that happens, excluding anti-hero movies. Since anti-hero movies act like revenge films, they are revenge films depending on the context or the movie it is. With revenge films, obviously this is flipped on its head, and we get something different. How does the hero deal with the villain? Bam! Problem solved. Obviously in this duration, there's more bams, and it's more on the goons first, and then on the main villain. But obviously this duration is longer with more BAMs, but it's the process of mostly one person being a single one-man army or single-person army, and single-handedly taking out a lot of goons at once to make it to that person that ruined the main character's life. Another way this works is if the main character outsmarts the villain and ruins them. A perfect example of this is the 2004 Punisher film, which is actually one of my favorite hero films of all time. In this movie, the Punisher gets his life ruined by Howard Saint, which is just this rich guy randomly, because the Punisher was doing a undercover mission and one of Howard Saint's sons dies through it because it was a psyop in a way. So Howard Saint gets back at him and kills the Punisher's entire family. With the main part that makes this movie good, the Punisher ruins Howard Saint's life to get back at him. With this, the Punisher makes Howard Saint kill his own wife and his best friend by tricking him into believing that his best friend and wife were having an affair and taking everything he loved away from him. The same way that Howard took everything from Thomas Jane. Well, let's say that, because it's funny. An easy way to explain this little story part is that Howard Saint is playing checkers, and the Punisher is playing 3D chess. Totally different overall. 3D chess is gonna somewhat take over checkers. It's not the best, but it's different playing field. In the movie, it does show the cool flashy violence that revenge films are for, but it's more focused on how the Punisher can take away everything that a man has without him knowing it was him. That's what makes this ending way better, is that Howard Sink doesn't realize that it's him until he shows up and starts killing everyone in his building. It also shows that the Punisher's plan worked how he wanted it to work, and he's just able to kill Howard and avenge his family as well, which wraps up the movie perfectly since we get to see the main bad guy get killed. He also blows up, and we're also able to see him mentally fall apart throughout the second and third act of this movie. So, we've now made it to the end of the video. I also expected this video to be longer, but I only want to do a few points of why I think they're good. If you want a more in-depth video, let me know. I would totally be down to talk about other reasons why I think revenge movies are good. It would take a little bit, but I would totally be down to do something like that. So, overall, revenge movies are the better action movies that are out there. They focus on the action more than the story, which is okay, obviously, which it's okay to have at the end of the day. Obviously, the action is carried by the story, as I just said. Since it's a revenge film, a lot of people like seeing a person be a one-man army and just kill a lot of guys, or women, depending on the context of the film. It's a fantasy that a lot of people, including me, enjoy seeing, you know? A lot of people have that fantasy of, oh, I can take out like 3 guys by myself, you know? It's harder to do, but we have that fantasy of just being overpowered and just demolishing a lot of people. It is a mostly men thing. I can see that. I mean, we love to talk about the Roman Empire ever so often, but it's also, there's also the ideology of how it just looks cool overall to see one person go against multiple people. There's that ideology of, that's really cool to see, and we want more of it. As well, since I am a martial artist, I love seeing that gritty hand-to-hand combat that is shown in a lot of these movies, and just see how brutal that they can take it. Like in horror movies, how the slasher films, they got progressively gorier. That's kind of how I am with revenge films. I like seeing that progression of what can be done next. The stories are simple at the end, but it follows the standard of storytelling with an action film. So you're still getting that same concept of action, of an action film story, but it's also, you're just seeing one person instead of multiple people figure something out. And the majority of the time, you're getting a good ending that you like to see the hero doing, of having a complete life after they just killed a lot of people. You also want to see them progress through the movie too. So you still have that standard, again, of storytelling of, you see someone who's been broken down and then rebuild themselves up. There's that small sensation as well of someone dealing with someone's injustices that they've done to other people or the main character. You're seeing the main character correct that person of their injustices, and it just makes it better to watch because the audience knows that someone did something wrong, and we, as the audience, want to see them get karma for it, basically. So, thank you for watching. I hope you were satisfied with this. I know it's kind of a quick script to do. I just wanted something out there so I can keep uploading. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you're not subscribed to my channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. As well, if you want to share this video to expand my channel, go ahead. That'd be pretty epic of you to do so. And that's pretty much it I have. Alright, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.